I released a web series in the fall called Scrappy, and one of my episodes was taken down by YouTube for explicit content. The actor, who was supposed to be naked, was behind a countertop which covered his dick, but you could see a lot of his pubes and a little bit of stump. The whole thing just got me thinking, how many pubes are too many pubes? Maybe I'm an overly sexual person, but I don't think so, because almost every film has some sort of sex and sexuality in it. Even in G-rated Elf, like the elf gets horny. So my first feature film, which I shot 10 years ago, had a sex scene in it because it was a romance. And this was before the advent of the intimacy coordinator, who is someone on set whose job it is to make sure that everyone shooting a sex scene is comfortable. My shoot got a little awkward, and I'll tell you why. So the crew started to set up the shot, and we started to undress, and I started to feel like, wow, I'm so comfortable in front of a camera being mostly nude. I mean, there was a sock covering my actual junk, but besides that, I was bare-ass naked and pretty okay with it. Also, we'd spent all week shooting at the beach. Really, what's the difference between being in your underwear and being in a bathing suit? But pretty much off the bat, it was clear that my co-star, whose sexual preferences were a little cloudy at the time, was not 100% comfortable. I started to feel bad, both for my co-star, who now all of a sudden I felt like I'd kind of entrapped, even though I definitely had not. I was also torn between how much do I work to make this person comfortable and how much do I kind of push them as a professional actor, because at the end of the day, I don't understand your trauma. I'm not your shrink, I'm a movie director. And if I have to teach you how to give a fake blowjob on screen, like maybe you should be paying me? Luckily, the scene turned out great and looks great. So what I learned from this experience, thoroughly discuss sensitive scenes and make sure 10 times before you start filming that your actors are okay with sex scenes, that they're comfortable with the level of nudity that you have imagined in your head. Also, there are lots of sex-positive actors out there who are happy to strip down and often push me to the point of feeling like a prude, which is a fun sensation. So I've noticed that European and American cinema treat sex totally differently. For instance, in the United States, you can have a movie like Avatar: Way of Water, where you see people getting decapitated and there's all-out machine gun warfare, and it's rated PG-13, but they still cover the blue Avatar's nipples? What's up with that? Not to sound like a conservative Midwest housewife clutching my pearls, but should 13-year-olds be seeing that level of violence? The message feels like it's guns are good, sex is bad. Then compare that with Carol, the Todd Haynes visual masterpiece. Zero cursing in it, zero violence, unless you consider Cate Blanchett's razor-sharp acting skills violent. But you do see Rooney Mara's breasts. Rated R, because as we know, there's nothing more dangerous to your children's eyes than lesbians in the 1950s. The Dark Knight, PG-13. The Fast and the Furious franchise, the whole thing, PG-13. That stuff is so violent. Also, it's teaching kids to steal cars. Like, what? Speaking of nudity, all we ever see are boobs and bush. We never see any dicks. Even in Monsters, the TV show about the Menendez brothers, the guys are wearing prosthetic dicks. What would people say if actresses started wearing prosthetic boobs? I watched 2 Days in Paris the other day, a French film. Part of the plot of the movie is that the woman who's half of the couple, who's played by Julie Delpy, she has this thing where she loves to take pictures of all of her boyfriends with balloons tied around their dicks, totally naked. And it's actually her mom who brings the photo up to him and is like, oh, the balloon, and he freaks out. It's not sexual at all, it's just funny. But it's not also a big deal, and he's definitely not wearing a prosthetic. Also, it's weird that, like, I could flash my nipple in this YouTube video right now. See, it's right there. It's just a nipple. But if I were a woman, or identified as a woman, or I had bigger breasts, then maybe YouTube would take it down. I mean, maybe YouTube's gonna take it down because of that, who knows? Obviously, this can all be traced back to America's Puritan roots, Adam and Eve, how we blame women for all of our problems, which is all way above my pay grade, but it does explain why our country's run by sex offenders. And really, all I'm saying is that, in my opinion, the United States needs a big, mandatory day at the nude beach. These are my favorite and least favorite movies about sex and sexuality. And 2024 was a pretty huge year for movies, particularly about female sex and sexuality. I know it's 2025, but I just saw them all. All right, so let's do a favorite and then a least favorite, because I like to stay positive and I'm not going to trash anyone's movie totally. Favorite, Stranger by the Lake. Ooh, it's about cruising. It's a murder, mystery, suspense thriller that's set around a nude beach at a lake. And of course it's French. Mwah. Top pick. Least favorite, Risky Business. I know this is an old one, but it's definitely a classic film in the canon. But I do wonder if people have actually seen it or if they just go to college frat parties where that is the theme. The lesson of the movie is that if you prostitute women and start your own brothel, even in the upper middle class suburbs of wherever they are, you can get into Princeton. I ask myself how this is a classic, but really it explains so much. Favorite. Now, this one comes with a trigger warning. The French film Elle, starring Isabelle Huppert. It's an incredible sexual suspense thriller. Isabelle Huppert is basically known as the French Meryl Streep, and she is incredible in this film. I went to see it with a female friend, and we both came out of there just, needing a cigarette. Elle did come out right at the height of the Me Too movement, and Isabelle Huppert, who apparently was supposed to win the Oscar, lost it to Emma Stone for La La Land because the film, opens on a rape scene. It's about as French as eating croissant and giving your kids packs of Marlboro Reds for stocking stuffers. The same director who directed Elle directed Benedetta, about a lesbian monk in the Middle Ages in Italy who turns a statue of the Virgin Mary into a phallus, and it is also worth watching. Torn. The Substance, really fun movie, amazing special effects, great acting, female stars, we love. A lot of very slow motion topless scenes as well, which I think if I were a straight man, I would really appreciate, but I'm not. And at the end, I left the theater wondering if I had just spent the last 2 hours laughing at how shitty women feel about getting older. Honorable mention, The Last Showgirl. Pam Anderson believing 100% that her topless Vegas show is French art. Who am I to say it's not? Who are any of us to say it's not? Also, the uninterrupted, maybe 2-minute long dance solo video of Jamie Lee Curtis with her cleavage and her white lipstick reliving the glory days on a Dance Dance Revolution stage? Yes, more of that, please. Dishonorable mention, Bros. Sorry, Billy Eichner. With the steroids and the muscles and the big macho gaze. Sex! Screamed in your face. Whispered in my ear and then, tickle my lobe with your tongue a little bit. Favorite, Hustlers. Remember J-Lo on that stripper pole? That was just hot. Not a Made in Manhattan fan, but definitely converted to J-Loism after that. Okay, my Raspberry Award, and this might not be a popular opinion, but Anora. Just as a film in general, I did enjoy the storytelling and the world building of the first half, but I felt that the second half, especially because it won Best Screenplay at the Oscars, but every other word in the script was fuck. 45 minutes looking for somebody that I didn't really care about. What was that? I'm sorry, but how did this movie get nominated and let alone win? I did hear that they spent like $16 million promoting it, and that people in the Academy really wanted to make a statement for independent film as opposed to big budget films, but there were so many other better films this year. Like, how many times do we have to see Mikey Madison just get railed? And then what, she enjoys it because he's rich? And listen, I love a movie about sex workers, and especially about a local girl from Brooklyn, and that was fun. But it didn't save it. This brings me to my new, maybe all-time favorite movie about sexuality, and that is A Baby Girl. I just watched Baby Girl this past weekend. I kind of thought, I wasn't missing much, but if you haven't seen it, run, don't walk, and wear a thong. In my opinion, this movie should have been tied with Conclave for the best picture, best director, best cinematography. If you look at the colors and the way the film is shot, it is gorgeous. Do you always keep cookies in your pocket? Why? Do you want one? Like, such a good script. Also, Nicole Kidman giving us 3 close-up orgasms on screen, and each one of them were wildly different. How? She's incredible. Nicole Kidman sells this movie like nobody's business. That script is a masterclass in show don't tell. Yes, there's plenty of dialogue, but there's so many subtle moments. There's also an entire montage dedicated to fish hooking. They have a conversation about a safe word. I mean, it's just so sex positive, it makes me want to cry. Big picture, Baby Girl the film has so much to say about society as well, because I think we're in such a time of darkness in so many ways, and even the film addresses it. I mean, she works for an AI company, and AI really is coming for so many creative jobs. Not even just creative jobs, but just jobs in general. And we are kind of entering a scary and unknown future, but we're also entering a future where people are not as afraid to talk about sex, not as afraid to talk about their kinks or what turns them on, and they're really not ashamed of it. I know many people will disagree with me on this because I checked the IMDb ratings and it has like a 6 or like a 5.5. And I did a little market research the day after I watched it because I loved it so much that I texted probably 5 people that I'd seen it, and I got ecstatic responses from a few women who had seen it, but I think a lot of people really slept on it. I did get one response from a straight man who called it unwatchable, which I think is interesting because for me it's very much the female gaze, and I think that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But it's also a very vulnerable movie. She really, I think, deserved the Oscar for that performance because it was so well executed. You know, she's such a fantastic actor, but also she is so brave to go there. You know, in Puritan America, to make a movie where you're that exposed and that's that sexual is just brave. Brave. She deserves a fucking Congressional Medal of Honor for that thing. Now, I also do realize that in my list of movies that I love and don't love so much, there's no movies about straight male sexuality. Which, you know, there need to be more movies about straight men's sexuality. And then I realized that the only one I could think of is American Psycho. Oy. Please list your own favorite movies about sex and sexuality in the comment section. You know, I'm very influenced by what I've seen lately and what I can think of off the bat, and I would love to see more, explore more movies, and maybe think of some old ones I've seen that I didn't mention in this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, or write a comment underneath, or subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and I will keep them coming. Thanks for watching.